once you've thought about things, then what it implies is that you have to do more research. So don't forget that your next step really now is to take the information that you're thinking about your customers and about your competition and dig back in, because the more that you learn about where you're trying to go and who you're trying to reach, the more you discover that perhaps the research that you started down the path of a couple of, actually several months ago, may need some fine tuning. So this is a chance for you to go back to some of those websites from our market research class and go back into Google, go back into the Nielsen ratings groups, and make sure that you were actually looking at the right data from that first round. Because you probably have shifted things, or you've gotten a little bit clearer about who your customers really are. Something else to think about for all of us is figuring out how our customers find us. So that's sort of the heart of what marketing is all about, is how do folks find you, whether they're your current customers or new ones. So make sure that you know how people are finding you, because that's actually a more complicated question than it sounds. We know at Crafts that we really don't know how people are finding us right now. We know that we have a very long history, and so we have a database of folks who have been interested in Berea College Crafts and have purchased crafts, but new people are finding us in new ways because we have new technologies that are leading folks to us. So for us to really understand more deeply how people are finding us is sort of a needle in the haystack moment. You gotta trace things back. What website did you hop to find us? The good news is that data is available for you, and it's where Google Analytics and Facebook and all of those wonderful little social media connections can help us find and track back where folks came from, what rabbit hole they went down to find us. So I'm going to hop right into the heart of the matter. Who hates pricing? Okay, who loves pricing? Oh, what do you love about pricing?
Oh, it's a fun game.
And how's it working for you?
Oh, I do fairly well at that. I'm the 5th least expensive broom maker in the country who actually has quality.
But you must share the context of how many broom makers there are in the country.
Oh, no, I'll give you one better. In Australia, United States, Canada, and the United Kingdom, there are less than 150 broom makers that I can find. In fact, the number was about 97. And only about 25 of them actually produce enough to be any kind of competition to me or Student Crafts. So, yes.
Which makes Justin a really cool case study of everything, because it's very trackable, because the market is so compact. You know, you really can figure out how is this all related.
Yeah, my biggest competition is oddly enough in Vancouver. That's the thing that blows my mind. Like the closest similarity to my age and the amount of brooms I'm producing is in Vancouver. So
who knew?
Yeah, like that's the thing.
So for you, what are you using? I hope you're using some of these things to figure out your pricing.
I am using everything we have there.
Awesome, so that's good. So this is part of what we started talking about in our Money class, was what does it cost for us to make what it is that we're making? How do we factor in the time? So our time that may appear to be free but is so not free has to be figured into the price, or it should be, otherwise you're not getting paid appropriately. Any of your overhead costs, so very different for Gallery 123 versus Crafts, but a clear reality of figuring out what does it cost to keep you in business, and what does that look like, and what percentage of that needs to be a part of each of your product costs. And then there's the other one that, Justin, you're a good example of, is examining your competition and figuring out what is the range of pricing that exists out in the world. So some of this is some trial and error, but since we've already started down this path, can we talk about how you're thinking about pricing?
Sure.
And share what you've been doing to get those numbers semi-nailed down.
Sure. Well, the first thing that I legitimately did is I stalked every broom maker on 3 continents that I could find. And the highest average broom price I could find was, there was one guy selling a broom for $85. The lowest was 15. And I know how much each of these brooms would have to make, and I think they're both insane. About where Student Crafts is, that's about the mid-range, so good job. And for myself, I actually measured, I had to take apart some brooms to actually weigh things properly. So my average cost to make a broom is about $5, somewhere in there. $3 to $6 is usually what I say. And about 15 to 45 minutes in every broom. So, yeah.
So $5 to $6 in hard costs,
Yes.
and then 15 minutes of your time.
15
Now, does
to
that depend on what kind of broom you're making?
Yes, it does, because full-size brooms have a little bit more tension, because you have to wind the broom, then sew it, then drill it, then I have a nice finish I like to apply to my handles. Yeah.
And what about so let's talk about your competition though a little bit too, because I think one thing that we've talked about before in this group is the difference between a purely functional broom that is all about the broom doing cleaning, and an art piece, a unique piece,
Yes.
a piece that maybe is less about the functionality of it, not that it wouldn't function, but that it may end up on someone's wall because it's a beautiful broom. And I know you're laughing about this, but this is where I challenge you.
Well, this is, I was talking to the Noodle Nirvana people
Yes.
about this, and when they told me that, I was like, do you want me to just take a photo of this bowl of food and post it on Instagram, or do you want me to eat it? And then they understood completely what I was going with when I told them my brooms are functional but decorative. Does that make sense?
Yes, but what I'm asking you is the difference in price and the difference in value, perceived, or like take away the cost of supplies and the cost of time and add your design and the fact that you came up with, that you have a golf club handle on the end of a broom that could appeal to a golfer in an amusing way for them to clean their greens, and and that has more value because it's unique. So that's where I'm trying to get you to go a little bit.
Okay. Well, most brooms are plastic now, and they don't do as well as job as certain circumstances. Like, you wouldn't want to have a plastic broom inside a wood shop because that can potentially create static electricity.
Okay.
Okay.
But are you really trying to compete with plastic brooms? Are you trying to
No,
compete with?
I am
I
not.
think it's two different customer
It
bases.
is.
Because
Right.
somebody who is wanting something cheap is gonna go to the Dollar Tree and buy a broom for
Right.
$1. Somebody who wants something a little nicer, maybe a little artsy, is gonna buy one of his
I
brooms.
have barely
So it's
worked.
not maybe a little artsy, it's definitely.
Well, yeah.
Well, I have a lot of old women who come in and tell me, every woman in
It's
this,
true.
every woman in this room is 29 years old.
Thank you.
I think that's most of our customer bases within this community,
Well,
because, you know, if you're somewhat more established, mature, and got a disposable income, you'll buy the finer thing. If you're struggling just to sweep your floor, you're going to the Dollar Tree and get a buck broom.
but I think a lot of my market is nostalgia, because like a lot of older women come into my broom, oh, that's brooms just like my grandma used to use. Or if they buy a cake tester, I tell them they've never seen a cake tester in their life. until I tell them what it is, and they remember, my grandma used to use these, and then they buy a cake tester. So.
And I will tell you that while I am also 29, that I do not have grandparents who had those brooms because it wasn't a part of our culture. So the first time I saw brooms at Berea College Craft, now I had seen brooms in one other place in Wyoming, actually. There's a broom factory at the penitentiary.
Those little fun ones.
That's right next to the license plate.
But it's the territorial prison, so it's really old school, and it's sort of a joke. But it is really the penitentiary, and they do have the equipment that you and Chris use. That's how they're making real handmade broomcorn brooms. But I had never seen artful brooms. I saw only, a shaker broom that looked like a broom to me, and it was handmade. But when I came to Berea College Crafts, the first time I saw different colored broomcorn and different sizes and styles, and I didn't want to sweep with them, I just wanted them because I'd never seen them before. So I think there's a market opening here that really is going to impact your pricing because you can charge more because of the novelty of this. And this is something that you're gonna have to, you do some trial and error to figure out how far you can push it, but in some ways, you may be charging too small of an amount for some of your brooms. Now, are you gonna alienate the mature women who are purchasing your brooms? No, you can have two different kinds of brooms, but I challenge you to raise your prices. You don't believe me, do you?
There's always somebody that's
Well-
looking for something special.
Well, honestly,
We have two different lines.
Tim, come do this. I went through the college catalog and compared my prices, and I'm only about 10%, 15% lower than you guys, so.
Right, but you're a solo producer. You are you're even more unique than we are.
Yes,
You
but
should be charging more than we are.
I can technically be slightly a bit more efficient though, because I don't have to produce as many, and
But I don't want your efficiency, I want your artistry.
You get
Right.
both.
It's about being unique. It's about people will pay for the uniqueness, you make a one-of-a-kind broom,
My legitimate one-of-a-kind brooms all more expensive. I've sold a $300 broom before and a few $150 brooms, but my stand-up brooms all standard prices.
I'm not saying this is Justin, so Justin, I'm not directing this comment to you, but
You can go ahead and say it's.
no, when I was teaching full-time and I would be working with students in pricing jewelry, one of the hardest concepts for them, especially when they knew they were stepping out and they had to price things, was this idea that making the sale wasn't the most important thing. And sometimes people err on the side of reducing the cost to someone. And I think, I used to have students that say, well, I want to build my reputation. I said, fair enough, I understand what you're saying, but undercutting your piece and making your piece seem less valuable because you can make the sale might not be the best way to build your reputation. When you're young and you're starting out, or it's your first studio, every dollar that you're making means something, both in terms of pride of the business and the fact that I'm succeeding, I'm making it, I'm doing it, something that other people can't. But the problem is that you get caught up in something, and pretty soon, the fact that you are making something feels so good that you never move past that point. I'm not saying that's where you are, but it can happen even at student crafts where you think, well, we're serving people, look, they like this. Well, I want to serve a broad range of people with a broad range of product, but there's a danger in that, trying to serve Chester and I were just talking about it a while ago, with furniture and everything. If we've identified a market as 40-plus-year-olds with upper middle income, I ask the question, what about 26-year-olds with not that income? And the answer came back, maybe that's not the market we want.
They're probably gonna go to IKEA or something
That
disposable.
was what we,
You know,
that
go to
was what we
Walmart,
talked
get a
about.
$69 pressure wood.
If you
You
mark,
are really
if you
optimistic.
market,
Everyone's going
if you market yourself to the lowest common denominator, that's who you are.
Right.
That's who you become. That's what everybody expects. If you market yourself to me as I'm gonna sell this to you at the bottom dollar, then when I come to you for that really nice piece, I want it at the bottom dollar. I want it cheap. And that's just the way it is. But if you are the guy that's always, you've got quality product and you demand a quality price for good work, when I come to you, I expect really good high-end pieces, but I'm willing to pay for it because that's why I'm coming to see you.
I feel like you have an accuracy in my prices of my brooms. They
I'm-
all, they
I'm
all
not, I'm not
compare.
addressing that to you
I-
individually, I'm just saying
I just
that
want to make
overall.
that clear to you, I am hot, fairly expensive for a broom, but I am still competitive with any other broom
I
maker.
mean, if you're happy with what you're doing, that's,
Yeah.
I mean,
more power to you.
I like this conversation though, cause,
I just think people
It's-
that do this kind of work, arts people, crafts people, they have more of a tendency to undervalue their work.
oh yeah.
Than to overvalue it.
They're
be-
I
also,
buy it all the time, I buy other people's work simply because I can't build it.
A lot of people price themselves.
They'll make
like-
something really, really nice, I can't build it for that, so I
Yeah.
buy it.
Like
Yeah.
what they're selling at a flea market, you know, and not
Right.
craft, there's a difference.
Right,
If you price yourself like you're selling at a flea market, then that's what you are. If you price yourself like you have quality and art, then that's what you are.
right.
But when it gets right down to it, this is just what I do. I figure how much I wanna make an hour, and I have that number. I make product A. How many of them can I make in an hour? Okay, I figure out what that cost point is on material for that product A. Okay, well, if that's this, then I was like, all right, this is my break-even point. But nobody, if we're gonna do this, nobody wants to break even. Because at the
Right.
end of the day, if you break even, you're working yourself for nothing. So you figure out what you gotta have to break even, and then price yourself what you desire, and what the market will bear, that's the important thing.
Yeah.
You can price something for $1,000, and if nobody buys it, you can't eat it,
Right.
you know, so, you know, you
Yes.
gotta do what the market will bear within reason.
Right, yeah.
Well, you know, I think up to this week, in all the work that we've done, we've been asked to identify markets, we've been asked to identify individuals, we've thought about it, we've done those things, but I think what Beth is saying to you individually is that while you may have a market already established, there are unique other markets out there.
oh, trust me, they also.
I don't want you to write those off because they don't fit what you are currently doing. And now there's a process that you have to go through to identify those markets, and it's very clear how you make decisions along the way. And tonight's thing is very good. And I think she's trying to keep you from selling yourself too short in looking at other markets. So,
Well, doesn't this get into where you sell also?
Absolutely.
Because if you're on.
Nice
a-
segue.
Oh,
There's more than just pricing when you think about marketing. Do you want me to, should I go ahead?
yeah, go ahead.
So, on page 12, you have these slides, but you also have a little cheat sheet on what all of these mean. And so you've got the thing you make, your product, and that obviously is the most important thing that you're talking about here, but there are a bunch of things that go into how you price and how you market. And some of it is the pricing itself, but how you intend to promote it is actually a really key part of this. What are, you know, if you're just gonna be pushing something online, that's a different way to think about your product than if you have a retail store. Here's your competition and your position place. When you think about how your product is positioned in the marketplace, is it about cleaning or is it about art? That plays a big part in who you're marketing to and who your customer is. And the place, of course, is the reality for us here and for us in Appalachia, which is an interesting thing for us to think about, and it's one that we've been trying to challenge ourselves throughout this entire program, is we have a place where we sell now, but we have the entire world to sell to, who are interested in what our product is, partially because of our price and partially because of the product itself. But that place may not be our original customer base. So these are all of the things that have to play into thinking about marketing when you start to design your strategy. Because, dramatically, marketing, it's the story of your product. And, you know, if you don't identify all of these different pieces carefully, then when you go to try and tell this story, you can't figure out how to tell it and who to tell it to. Because really the promotion is the marketing piece that we think about normally, which could be selling itself, it could be public relations, it can be advertising, it can be coupons, you know, in a coupon book, it can be all of those different places that are ways that you tell your story. So thinking about all of these things up here, your product, your price, your place, the people you're selling to, those all determine how you're going to promote exactly what you're doing. So do you all remember what we did in the Shift workshop related to marketing? Do you remember how we had a whole strategy? Here, look at page 15. It should look familiar. A whole strategy that allowed you to plan out. How am I going to reach people? Am I going to use Facebook? Am I going to blog? Am I going to do email? Do I have marketing collateral? What about public relations? How about advertising? YouTube, guerrilla marketing, all of those different options are part of your marketing plan. And depending on who your audience is going to determine what the best strategies are for you to get the most bang for your buck. And, you know, the key for most of us is to try and get that one pin, that keystone pin that knocks the rest of them down with our marketing strategy, because we don't have that much money and maybe no money potentially. So figuring out what your goal is and who you think that linchpin market is that you're trying to reach is really, really, really key. And then I know you remember this, the SMART planning of trying to be really specific. So going back to your research, who are you trying to reach? How many of them are you reaching? What are your sales goals? What is the outcome that you're trying to get so that you can actually back plan your marketing strategy? So I want to talk about some things that we didn't talk about in the Shift workshop related to marketing that have become more and more popular as time goes on and as technology goes on. So endorsements, I mean, we think about, well, I think about endorsements from being a kid and remembering that celebrity endorsements were a big deal on television. Well, they're even bigger now than they were when we were kids because of social media. So the ability for, who's heard of Casper beds? Anybody heard of Casper? So the friendly ghost. So Casper is a startup mattress company. They make mattresses that are synthetic, and they roll up and they arrive at your door in a box. And they have figured out the most ideal, perfect mattress that the vast majority of people will find to be the best mattress ever. They have no storefronts. They've spent 3 years researching mattresses to get the right mix of synthetic materials and latex all into this mattress. And they only went online with their sales. And Ashton Kutcher bought one of their beds. And he took a video of his bed being delivered to his New York apartment, which meant that a guy showed up with a box, and he opened the box, and the mattress unfolds itself. It like unrolls and becomes a mattress, and he took a video of all of that and posted it on Facebook and tweeted about it, and their sales went through the roof. And now they have literally disrupted the mattress world. They still have no storefronts. They have done some pop-up storefronts. They now have sheets, pillows, still have not changed their mattress at all. all the normal sizes, but they also do have a dog bed, a $200 dog bed. But their price is, you know, for a queen size bed, $800, including shipping, with a 90-day, you know, return policy, including the shipping to ship it back in the crazy box. And they're on fire because they realize that nobody wants to go lie down on a mattress for 5 minutes, buy a mattress. They've got 12 different models that you can't figure out which one is right for you anyway because you're embarrassed that you're lying down on a bed in the middle of a store. And they've completely disrupted, but it was all because of endorsements and testimonials. And because we're all able to do that so easily now, it allows for our marketing to go viral in a way that is manageable, doesn't cost anything for us as long as we get our products into the right people's hands. We allow for a very personal interaction to happen because our friends are buying the product and are posting a picture of it on our wall with the broom and that you bought that is absolutely unique that you have now hanging and you want to show everybody that piece. So it hits at some of the really powerful things that the internet does, which is allows us to get endorsements and testimonials in a really personal way, and it hits on emotion, which is a huge part of sales that normally we're not able to do with a television commercial or a print ad. But emotion, because of the ability for us to use video so easily now too, I mean, think about it. What do we all want to see? We all want to see cute little kittens and dogs, and we want to have a tear-jerk moment because something really awesome happened, and we love that because it touches us. And all of that is now possible for us to do without spending significant dollars in our marketing strategies. So getting good at this whole world of the internet, or in many of our cases, finding people who love this stuff, who are in our networks and who want to help us do this, is part of our challenge as business people today. So thinking about how to build our partnerships and really building a network for everybody in Gallery 123, imagining the other folks in Old Town, for instance. Imagine if everybody got together down there and actually talked to each other and thought about video strategies and thinking about this as a district, as opposed to, oh, we're this one building and we do all of our stuff by ourselves. That can be really powerful because you've just exponentially changed who is seeing your work and seeing your products. So our king, speaking of, did you see the article, Justin, of public relations right now? Well, Jonathan, you two have been really rocking it lately in terms of good PR. You have both had really good articles written about you and videos of you. You don't remember that?
I don't know of recent times I've been in articles because I have stage fright.
You were on television, dude.
Yeah,
I watched it. And that was only a couple of months ago. It was right before the holidays. But this can be another really positive way to, again, do things that are free. So whenever somebody says to me, because I come from the nonprofit world a lot, is what's your advertising budget? No, it's like, how can I pitch the story? Because I'd much rather save my money and instead get an article written that includes the photos and that I didn't have to pay for, but I had to earn it. I had to have newsworthy information about myself, my artistry, my products, and all of us have that possibility, and it's totally free. So being able to think about who else is in my circle of influence or proximity that I can partner with to reach out, and how do I grab some of the local, in this particular case, pieces that allow us to get some publicity. And then of course all this online stuff is obvious, I think, at this point. I hope that it's obvious to all of us. All right, so We're gonna dig in. For all of you, we are now on page 14. Take 5 minutes and think about defining your goals very specifically. What are you trying to get out of your marketing for right now? Is it purely a sales desire that you're looking for, or are you trying to build your brand? Those are two very different outcomes that you can talk about. So think about whether this is all about sales at the end, or whether it's also about developing the story of your business and the story of who you are. Those are totally different strategies that need to intersect, but they may have very different outcomes in terms of your tactics. So start there, spend 5 minutes coming up with your goals, and then we'll work in small groups after that to help each other build our strategies. Okay? And go.